Many people knows a couple of the laws from the Ten Commandments by Moses, and perhaps John 3:16. But did you know that thanks to Hollywood and a classic world-famous action movie, one of the most known and searched Bible verse is actually Ezekiel chapter 25 verse 17? How did that happen? Well, it's quoted a few times in the Oscar-winning 1994 movie that has collected almost all there is to it of awards, and it's ranked number 8 on IMDb's list of top movies. Yes, I'm talking about Pulp Fiction. The hitman Jules, played by Samuel L. Jackson, always asks his victim, before he kills them, if they read the Bible, and then he quotes the verse from Ezekiel. But what does this verse really mean? What's the context? And did they even get the verse right? The reason I'm making this video is that I recall watching this movie often in my childhood, on VHS. Many of you don't know what that is. It's okay, I still love you. But what would happen was that some people would use that part from the movie to attack God in the Old Testament as immoral. Now I forgot about all this until just now, over 20 years later.
20 years.
When I again saw that this movie and verse being used online as a part of an argument to attack God's character. So I think it's time that YouTube gets a video where Ezekiel chapter 25 verse 17 is unpacked in its true and full form. Let's first start by looking at this very famous scene and see how the verse from Ezekiel is quoted in Pulp Fiction. If you are under 18 years old, please, who am I kidding? You live in crazy 2021. In many countries, kids are being taught about masturbation already in the kindergarten. Yeah, I know, don't get me started. So a non-gory bang-bang scene is nothing.
You read the Bible, Greg?
Yes.
Well, there's this passage I got memorized. Sort of fits this occasion. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Now, in the movie, this is quoted as Ezekiel 25:17. But in the Bible, where this verse is said in movie to be quoting, this is what it actually says. So yeah, a little newsflash for millions of Pulp Fiction Hollywood fans out there who haven't fact-checked this yet. Ezekiel 25:17 in Pulp Fiction is not how Ezekiel 25:17 is in the actual Bible. So yeah, before I could move on to actually unpack this verse, I had to point this out from the start. That said, let me be clear. I can read, I see the verse. I am not saying that there are no violent passages in the Old Testament. I have a whole ever-growing playlist on this channel responding to Old Testament objections. So yeah, kind of knew that already. Now to explain Ezekiel 25:17, we need to do like one must do with all Bible. Not read just a chapter or verse, which is a modern invention added to our modern Bibles, just some 500 years ago for navigation purposes. No book should be interpreted by isolated passages, and definitely not the Bible, because it's not even a book, but books. Multiple authors, written over thousands of years, telling a coherent story with a red thread on Jesus from cover to cover. So we need to take into consideration, what's the situation here? What's the historical and cultural context? What type of literature is this? Who's the object? And is what we read prescriptive or descriptive? Now, you've seen so far in this video that the world-famous Hollywood Pulp Fiction movie is not quoting the actual Ezekiel 25:17 from the Bible, and some criteria and analyze methods that should be used when interpreting both a compilation of ancient books and any other book out there. So now, let me unpack Ezekiel 25:17. Type of literature: descriptive prophecy, from the time of ancient Israel. Situation and context. Well, God freed the Israelites miraculously out of Egypt, provided for them, and showed them repeatedly mercy, despite all their rebellion and evil ways. From before all this, all the way back to the covenant with Abraham, God had them waiting and would not let them take over the promised land until 400 years later, because the sin of the people living there had not yet reached its full measure. But when that time ultimately arrived and the Israelites started to settle in the promised land, they disobeyed God and took their sinful ways to the extreme, as we read in Joshua and Judges, when adopting the poisonous lifestyle of the evil nations in Canaan, including bestiality and sacrificing children in horrendous ways to serve these nations' false gods. They were warned about this multiple times, but they didn't listen. The first 25 chapters are writings of prophet Ezekiel warning the Israelites that for this evil and rebellion, God will punish and discipline them. He will remove his protective hand over Jerusalem and let it be under Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar, just as previously with Judah. God ultimately does this because he loves them and he is faithful to his covenant with them, and that because through them he will bring hope for humanity. Where most of Ezekiel's writings are directed to the people of Israel, chapters 25 through 32 are written to the enemies of Israel, warning them of God's coming judgment for the horrendous evil ways I mentioned earlier that these nations infiltrated his people with. God is sovereign. God is holy. God hates evil, including bestiality and child sacrificing. God is judge. That said, keep also in mind that 2 times in the book of Ezekiel, God is saying that he does not take pleasure in the death of the wicked, but rather that they turn away from their evil ways and live.